There's a new documentary coming up on Shine TV next week, actually. Premieres Tuesday, the 27th of May at 7:30. It's called What's Your Everest? And it's a doco, an hour-length doco that follows Bjorn Brickle of Life FM, along with Sue Van Schraven of Orphans Aid, and a dedicated team of supporters as they take on their own personal Everest in a life-changing trek to Everest Base Camp. Well, as that was happening, one of our other workmates was there too. Not only was he climbing to Everest Base Camp, he sort of had two mountains to climb, really, because at the same time he was filming a doco on this topic. Caleb Timmins joins me in the studio. G'day, Caleb.
Pleasure to be here.
Look, first of all, congratulations. It's a really epic documentary. I know prior to coming to the studio, you had a screening with some of the staff. I'd already seen it. What was the response upstairs?
Oh, pretty good response. Yeah, I had a few people come up to me and say that they really enjoyed it, so that's good.
Yeah, and I know you put your heart and soul into this. Now, let's just clarify. You're the filmmaker behind this documentary. What exactly does that entail? Because I'm not sure how one person pulls this all off. Tell us the different hats that you had to wear. Not only were you filming it, what else were you doing?
Oh, big mix of things. So pretty much with a production like this, we have one crew member and we're going overseas to Kolkata and to Nepal. And basically I had to wear every hat that a film crew would wear. So that's audio, camera, director, and then later on editor. So pretty much the whole thing.
Yeah, that's huge. So it's 1 hour, the doco. How many hours of footage did you shoot?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you. A lot. It was
lot.
about 3 weeks of filming and filming all day throughout the day. So, lots of data, lots of gigabytes of file sizes and yeah.
How do you even begin to edit something like that when there's literally that amount of footage in one person?
Many months of scrubbing through footage. Yeah.
Yeah, because months. When was the trip? It was last year?
October. Yeah.
Okay.
So ever since October, kind of on and off working on other projects, but been working on this ever since then. So it's quite a significant amount of time, spent in the editing suite.
Yeah. Now, I just don't physically quite understand how this is possible, because seeing the doco and seeing the other people and, they got hit by altitude sickness. And how were you with the altitude?
I was pretty sweet for like the first half of the hike, and I was getting a little bit cocky about it. I was like, yeah, I'm feeling great. Everyone else was kind of struggling. And then a couple nights before we got to base camp, I woke up in the middle of the night with a terrible headache, and I got up to go use the toilet, and I was walking down a hallway, and I started hallucinating, and the hallway started glitching out. And then I couldn't sleep after that.
Wow.
I didn't sleep the rest of the night, could barely eat. And then, pretty much got humbled by it and then was in the same boat as everyone else for the rest of the hike.
Although I'm just thinking, when each person, you travelled however far you travelled each day, they'd get there and probably relax and get something to eat. Then you had to carry on working, I guess. You were shooting footage. And
Yep. So filming basically until everyone went to bed. So filming in the tea houses over dinner, all the conversations, just to catch those moments where people are talking about their symptoms and struggling, not being able to eat, all that stuff. And then, everyone goes to bed and you go and back up the footage to 2 hard drives separately. So that takes a fair bit of time, because that's got to be all wrapped up before you go to bed, because you wake up and you're straight on the trail. So that probably takes 2 to 3 hours, just all the files transferring, and then off to bed. So.
And did you ever? I always thought, how did you have enough battery power for climbing up the mountain, and you don't get in until late at night to recharge things?
It was rough. We almost ran out of batteries, so I brought heaps of spare batteries because I kind of anticipated it being an issue. And as you get higher and higher on the climb, and the different tea houses and places you stay, electricity is more and more rare, so you have to start paying lots of money and competing with other people. So they have one multi-box with like 20 people fighting to plug their phones. So almost ran out of battery. The last camera battery was down to half battery power, and I managed to get a spot and charge just before that last sort of final day. So,
did everyone else know what you were sort of dealing with, or they just were busy recuperating and struggling? And
I think everyone was just trying to survive, myself included. No one was really
course.
Focused on anyone else. We were just trying to get the food down and get the sleep, and
So I love the footage, the landscape. and then there's like yaks wandering by and donkeys and all the rest of it.
There are lots of yaks.
Yeah.
Like, I had to cut yak shots because I put so much footage of yaks in. My boss was like, too much, mate. So I had to cut some out.
As a filmmaker, what was some of the things that just blew your mind? Like you're like, oh, wow, maybe something that you were shooting or that you really wanted to get when you were going there?
I think it was just the contrast of going from filming in the slums of Kolkata to a few days later filming some of the biggest mountains on the planet. So you're going from this really sort of claustrophobic, dark place, really intense place to one of the most beautiful landscapes in the world within a short amount of time. So it was real trippy, and getting to film the contrast and sort of highlight the contrast between the two locations. And yeah, it was just surreal. Like the first time we saw Everest, I remember zooming in on the summit and I was like, I'm filming Everest. This what?
How was this
so
even
weird.
possible?
Yeah. It was crazy.
You've been quite involved in film and things for a few years, right? I mean, I know you've been here a little while, but you've done other sort of projects. Is this the kind of thing that as a filmmaker you thought, oh, that'd be cool?
Oh, 100%. Like a year ago, if I had got to sit down and watch this doc I'd shot, overseas about all of this stuff, I wouldn't really believe it. Like this is kind of the type of project I kind of dreamed about working on growing up. So yeah, really surreal to get to fly overseas and shoot this stuff as part of my job.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed, and I'd love to continue, this type of work.
Definitely. I think we'll just point out to listeners there are two storylines going on, right?
Yeah.
So tell us just quickly what the two different storylines are.
So the main premise of the documentary is obviously we did a fundraising trek across the Himalayas to Everest Base Camp, and the goal for that trek was to raise money for Orphans Aid International projects, which are, these projects around the world that help orphans and abandoned children and street people. So before we went on the trek, we went to Kolkata and we filmed a lot of the projects there. So we were filming the story of trying to make it to base camp. Are we going to make it to base camp? And the challenges of doing that. And then cutting back to the second storyline, which is the motivation for the climb. And that's cutting to, Kolkata, filming the projects and some of the stories of the locals there and some of the really raw, emotional stories we covered when we were in India. So.
Yeah, it is quite an emotive story, especially me as a mum watching it and, some of the things, these people, their lives. I think one of the moments that was really beautiful was, I guess it's Kolkata and one of the feeding places, and that lady turns up and she's beautifully dressed in her sari with her two children, and she's somebody who has been helped by Orphans Aid and she no longer lives on the streets.
Yep.
And that was a beautiful moment.
She now lives in a house when she's got a family, and their family's safe and sound. They're off the streets. They completely turned her life around, and that was all because of Orphans Aid and their project. So it was really cool to see her. She came to the original feeding centre that she went to as a kid. And all these years later with her family, and great story.
Caleb Timmins, thanks for being on the show today. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Now, for listeners, take a note. Next Tuesday, the 27th of May, the premiere, 7:30 on Shine TV. If you can't make that, you will also be able to watch it on demand.